They hate Juneteenth, man. They fucking hate it. Like it is you would, and so it's just been fascinating to me because I have, like most of you, have grown quite tired of conservatives pretending that the Republicans of the 1860s or even the 1960s or 50s are who they are today. That the Republicans fought as the Republicans started as an abolitionist party. Abe Lincoln was the first Republican president fighting for stopping the expansion of slavery across the country. That was like his whole thing. Mm-hmm. And then the Civil War happens. Abe Lincoln signs the Emancipation Proclamation, gets shot, and the Republicans who remained pushed through the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments, got slavery abolished. I mean, they put in the hard work for this. That you think the Republicans would be bragging about this and be proud of it, mm-hmm. and like, yes, fuck yeah, Juneteenth, this is our shit. Not the case. They treat Juneteenth with derision, spite, and ridicule. They cannot stand it, and I find that very interesting. But anyway, do you know who Dan Bongino is?
No.
Oh, okay. Dan Bongino is a conservative commentator. I can't remember where he works, but he used to be in the Secret Service, and real asshole, like a real piece of shit, like all of them. But he made. You seen this?
Yeah.
He made a fascinating Juneteenth video, like one that, believe it or not, is like 80% good. I couldn't believe it. So I know. So I'm going to share this with you guys, and just watch what this guy has to say, because I was surprised at how well, here, just let's listen what he has to say.
People are intimidated of talking about this because liberal a-hole losers, no matter what you say on race, if you say something positive about fighting for civil rights, you go, oh, man, you're just pandering to the black community. If you say nothing about Juneteenth or anything else, oh, look, you didn't mention it. These people, you hear me? Don't listen to them. Juneteenth should be a proud day for conservatives. You may not hear that anywhere else. It should. We're the warriors for civil liberties and freedom. It was a Republican Party, the Republican Party that led the emancipation movement. That's our proud history. That's ours. That doesn't mean Democrats now are responsible for slavery. That's no different than saying you're responsible for reparations. Those Democrats who supported slavery when it was tragically legal in the United States are all dead. I'm not an asshole like Democrats are, blaming, just 7 or 8 ancestors ago, if I even had any, because they weren't here, they were in Italy. I'm not a dumbass like them. Doesn't mean that. But that doesn't change the history I just told you. Juneteenth and the celebration of emancipation of human beings kept in tragic slave conditions. That's our history. You should be proud of that. That's our history, our party. That's our country's history. Don't ever be intimidated from talking about these things.
All right, John, I'd like to get your blind reaction from this. I'd like to get your first thoughts from hearing this first time.
I mean, I think that is what and you kind of mentioned it before, like that is what, if the Republican Party was a coherent like political party, that is what they would be doing. They would be celebrating this. They would be like saying, we're the party that did this. We're the party of civil liberties. That is the good Republican selling message, that like they can sell on this day accurately, and they choose not to. And it is kind of crazy. My other knee-jerk reaction to that was just on a personal level. Like, I'm not too familiar with that guy, but like, I know a lot of that guy in my life. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm sure you do too. Where it's just like, I don't know what else he has said. Maybe he's an absolute crazy person.
He is.
But
Trust me, he is.
I'm sure he is. But like, just from that guy that I saw for 30 seconds there, it's like, that's the kind of conservative I can get along with. You know,
so,
I don't know what else he said, but like, I'm like, I can hang out with that guy. I can talk politics with him. It feels like it would be a respectful conversation for me, at least. but yeah, so like, that's what I want all conservatives to be like all the time, and we would have a lot less problems in this country.
So with that, yeah. So yeah, full disclosure, Dan Bongino, horrible human being. Like 95% of the stuff he says is the most vile, contemptible shit you could possibly imagine. Which made it so interesting when I saw that clip, because that was actually a semi-coherent, well thought out, and marketable message conservatives could actually go off on. And I the whole time I wanted, because he's like, listen, this is an opportunity for Republicans to take pride in their heritage. It's an opportunity for Republicans to celebrate this. Yeah, it is, Dan. I wonder why they don't do that. Like, you ever wonder why that is such a rare fucking sentiment when it comes from the Republican Party or conservatives in general? Because they don't like it. They don't. They put on the mask of, oh, well, this party had the same name that we have, so we get to claim all their accomplishments. And he kind of gave the game away too when he's like, well, that doesn't mean that Democrats today support. So it's like, oh, that's weird, right? So you're saying that just because you have the same political party as someone 150 years ago doesn't necessarily mean you're ideologically affiliated or similar to those people from 150 years ago. And like the Republican Party has a lot to celebrate. Like it just in general, just for the Republican Party, even if you separate the, regional and ideological sentiments that separate them over time, the Republican Party tries to take credit for the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment, the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act, but they don't do a lot of celebrating of it. They like the main stuff that happens, because when it comes to the Civil Rights Act, the first, last, and only people in line to try to erode measures in the Civil Rights Act, saying, well, actually, if you don't want to serve people at your restaurant, you don't have to. If you don't want to bake a cake for these people, you don't have to. Always Republicans, always the ones. When it comes to the Voting Rights Act, we're saying, well, listen, we have pockets in the country where discrimination for Black voters and stopping minorities from getting to the polls is a problem. So the federal government is going to step in and make sure these states don't disenfranchise their minority population. Republicans hate it. They stand up against it all the time. When Scalia was still on Supreme Court, he spearheaded an effort to limit provisions of the Civil Rights Act. Got like 1,000 voting locations in the South closed over, a 7 or 8 year period. They hate the Civil Rights Act. They hate the Voting Rights Act. They hate anything that involves making life better for minority populations, Black people in particular. So whenever it comes to like celebrating this shit, they go nuts. They go crazy as the wokeness and the pandering, like you said. And another thing he said too is, hey, don't let people intimidate you into not celebrating this shit. Dan, no one is intimidating them. They don't want to do it. Like they don't want to do it at all. It's like you're making it up in your mind.
It really, I think the phrase that you use there, which is most accurate, is it gives the game away. Because at the end of the day, the Republican Party can thump their chest and they can say, we're doing this because of states' rights or because we don't think the federal government should be that big. And you know what? Sometimes they have legitimate arguments to make. Mm-hmm. Like there are definitely occasions where things should be left to local governments, things should be left to private enterprise, and the federal government shouldn't get involved.
Yeah,
this has never been one of them. Like when it comes to protecting individual rights in the civil liberties, that is something that the federal government should always step in and do. When you have many years ago, you have states that are enslaving people and taking away civil liberties and rights from their population. And, that goes beyond slavery. It also goes into, Jim Crow and all that. You need the federal government to step in. And if they don't get along with that, their more serious claims can't be taken seriously.
Yeah.
Like when they go, oh, well, we shouldn't have, we shouldn't federally get rid of right to work laws. That would be the federal government overstepping its bounds. And on some level, I can agree that it at least has an ideologically coherent argument behind it. But I can't take it seriously if you're also the party saying we shouldn't be celebrating Juneteenth, because it really just seems like you're trying to take people's rights away. It doesn't seem like you're trying to give the rights to and like give more rights to people at all. And it as you summed it up perfectly, it gives the game away.
It do.